Hello, welcome to Soccer Yanks, a Soccer News Day podcast. I'm your co-host, Dave.
And I am your co-host, Dan, and we are going to bring you the beautiful game from the American perspective tonight. It has been a tremendous summer.
Great.
Tremendous summer, World Cup summer. The football action has not stopped since May. I mean, there was a little break in there, a couple of weeks before the World Cup, but there were some friendlies building up to the World Cup.
And this last 2 weeks, and that's about it.
Then we got.
But we even had.
Then we had the whole.
We had the women's. You can watch that if you want.
No, there's also been Community Shield friendlies,
Pre-season.
so on, so forth. There's been Major League Soccer, which I've been watching. There's been plenty of soccer to wet your beak.
Palate's not dry.
Palate is not dry. If you are listening to us for the very first time because you watched the World Cup or you kind of want to learn more about soccer and you're like, oh, Soccer Yanks, that makes sense. It's, Americans talking about soccer. That's what I am. Or maybe not. Maybe you're from another country, but you just found us somehow. We are the Soccer Yanks. No, Dave and I are we're big soccer heads. We love the game. We follow primarily the English Premier League. However, nothing is off the radar. Nothing is off topic. We do venture off. We do Champions League. We talk about big matches in other leagues. We talk about domestic football. Talk about international football.
We respect all athletic achievements in soccer.
Okay. Yes.
Mainly the EPL. And
but there will be a heavy slant towards the Premier League. If you do not like that, sit down anyway. All right. Do not turn this off.
I was going to say love it or leave it, but I'm not going to say that.
Love it or leave it.
That would be an American thing to say.
That would be very American.
Too much for Yank.
No, I'm going the Russian route. Sit down.
And we take you.
All right.
This isn't Crimea. What am I talking about?
So it has been a great summer. Premier League starts in 2.5 days. It's now Wednesday night, and Saturday morning here on the East Coast, we will be kicking off.
Bright and early, because that's what Soccer Yanks do. We love our teams that we support, regardless of who they are. If they're on, we will do our damnedest to watch it. That's part of being a Soccer Yank. Some people don't understand that. People from Europe, people who get to watch it in a prime time. But there's a certain level, even though we've never been to the stadiums, some of us, or maybe we've been once in our lifetime, it's like a mecca to us.
Yeah, a religious trip.
It's a pilgrimage. It will be when I go there. I know when I get to OT for the first time in my life. But do not discount a Soccer Yank for their fandom. That's all I have to say.
And on that note,
that's who we are.
Let's get right into it.
Dive in.
Premier League starts 2.5 days. Let's go with the good first.
Why not?
In your estimation, in your summation, who had a good summer? Let's say, who had the best summer? Who had the best off-season of the 20 clubs in the Premier League?
I'm going to go with Chelsea.
Chelsea! They're on my radar, yeah.
Yeah, they added one of the best strikers in Europe, Costa. Made it to the Champions League final last year. Added one of the best center midfielders in Fabregas. I know he broke your heart. And twice,
we passed on him.
Twice now. You did.
We passed on him, so...
Got better things to do.
You have no place.
No harm, no foul. They added to their already deep lineup.
A left back. They added left back in Felipe Luis that some people argued should have been on the Brazil team. They also added the legendary Drogba. He came back.
But he's injured now. For the beginning of the season.
Yes.
And Courtois is now their number one.
Yes, I forgot about that. They recalled his loan. Right.
And I heard rumors are talking about, they told Czech he can start looking for other teams.
Yes, they did tell him that. Diego Costa is a very interesting signing. It's good for Chelsea because they play the style of soccer that he's excelled at. Now, in my opinion, he's had a year and a half of good football in his entire career. Let's see if that translates. If he can continue, on that monstrous form that he had in La Liga, I think Chelsea found the guy they need. He accumulates a red card, he gets an injury. Now you're looking at Drogba and Torres. So maybe that's still an issue.
Not a lot of wiggle room.
I think the one piece, I think they did very well in the offseason, I agree that they're up there. They're one of the. They're my. I have two teams that I named. Chelsea was one of them. I think Fabregas will be able to play in that defensive setup and play with. He's going to be playing next to Matic. I think he's going to be. I think it's going to work out very well for him.
He's going to have the freedom to go forward.
My real concern for Chelsea, which they have not addressed yet, center back, Terry, Cahill. Terry's an old man, and he's red card prone. Cahill's a young international. He's good, but the guys behind them are both unproven young guys. They have no other. The center back position to me is what's scary with Chelsea. Now they don't have an injury history, so it's there's a good chance that they stay fine. They're fine.
That is true, but if they want to go for the treble, like Jose Mourinho says every year, and they have flimsy depth in very important positions like striker. We don't know what Torres is going to do. Everybody pretty much knows what he's going to do, or thinks they know what they're going to do. You can't say it on the day, but like you said, if Costa goes down, who's the one to put the goals in? Just Hazard?
Well, you got Oscar. I mean, their midfield is very dangerous. I think they have a midfield that's going to score a lot of goals like they did last season. And Chelsea's strong point is not that they need to score a lot of goals. Yeah. They need to score just a little bit more than their opposition because they don't let in a lot. I can agree that you could say Chelsea had a great summer. I don't think many people can argue the other way. I think they did well. They acquired a lot of good talent. I'm just not sold on the defense. That's my one little caveat.
I agree with you, and that's a big part of their game. I mean,
it's not that I'm not sold on their defensive ability. I think they have a great defense. It's just depth. It's thin.
Yeah, if they want to play in Europe, if they're going to be playing on Saturday, and then they're going to go on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then go again next Saturday, and then you get into January and February and March.
And then you get that Christmas. You get the Christmas period. You play 19 games
Boxing
in 2 days,
Day, and then you get the Cock Cup, and you got the FA. You know.
Like how you stole that shit from me.
It's a soccer yank term. I think that's my biggest factor for me this year. For the most successful team is. It's what it is. Who has the deepest team? It used to be who could field 2 teams. Now you have to field 3 because there's like it seems like there's more injuries than there ever was in the last 5 years, or little knocks and nicks that lag and linger.
I think it's because players are being pushed more and more. I mean, I think Per Mertesacker played 50-something matches for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Then he played for Germany
Won a World Cup.
Another 9 or whatever, for warm-ups and the 7 in the World Cup. So, these guys are not getting the modern footballers playing a lot, especially if they are quote unquote world class. They're playing a lot. So I think that's why we're seeing an increased level of injury.
It's a bittersweet part of having top notch internationals.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, right? I have a team as well that I think had a good summer, and I think they're flying a little bit under the radar. Because of how last year worked out for them, but I think Swansea City had a good summer. They, for one, so Michael Laudrup was their manager last year. There was a lot of weirdness going on in the mid-season that the focus is on Europe and not on the league, and they weren't doing so bad, but it looked like Laudrup was maybe already petitioning his next move. So they had lost a match. I forget, they lost a pretty bad match. He gave the players the next day off, and he went to Paris. He never came back. They fired him.
He went out for a pack of cigarettes and some ice cream.
Something like that. Yeah.
See you later, kids.
20 years later, I found out he had a second family.
In Cardiff. He messes that up all the time, too, I guess.
Then a lot of the Spanish contingent at Swansea, I mean, they came there to play for the hero, the La Liga hero in Michael Laudrup. So this summer, they all kind of raised their hand and said, "Hey, can I get out of here now?" So they're not all necessarily gone, but Michu's on loan, Hernandez wanted out, Canes wanted out. The guy with the P, forget his last name, Pizzelli or Pizzolo, he wanted out. So they abided. They're like, we're going to try to get rid of you, or we're going to loan you out, or don't worry, we don't want you either. And they did some good business here. From Lyon, they got in, I can't say his first name, I'm going to butcher it, Bafétimbi Gomis, who is a very good striker. Very good striker. Replacement for Michu, who is out on loan. That doesn't want to play for Swansea anymore. We're never going to see that little hand thing that he does near his ear. Hang 10, bro. Hang 10.
It's surfer haircut.
Is it? I can't tell if it's I'm calling you or cowabunga.
Cleaning my ears?
Maybe it's cleaning my ear. Throw the Q-tip.
Throwing the dice.
Throw the Q-tip. Then they brought in Fabianski from Arsenal, who I could say as an Arsenal supporter and watching him develop over the last couple of years and what he did for Arsenal last campaign, I'm going to give him a lot of credit for winning that FA Cup. Semifinals, he blocked 2 penalties. He had an outstanding final match. He was the cup goalie, and I think Wenger said, "Listen, I know you're going to leave on a free at the end of the season. I'm going to give you the cup as your showcase. It's yours. Don't lose it. Don't lose. Like, it's your job to lose now. The cup job."
He lost his Flappy Hansky name.
And Flappy Hansky's is gone. Swansea also lost Vorm. I'm not sure if it was in a trade with Tottenham.
It was his player swap.
It was Ben Davies and Vorm, I think, to Tottenham for... No, I'm sorry. I got very confused. No, yes. Ben Davies and Vorm, I think, for Sigurdsson.
Yes.
So Fabianski came in on a free. I think Fabianski is a better goalkeeper than Vorm. I think Swansea is going to be catching a star, a rising star. I think he wanted to be... he's in his late 20s. It's hard to say rising star. For a goalkeeper, late 20s is still plenty of time.
He's still got a lot of miles in the tank.
Yes. So, and he's fighting also to be the Polish number 1 keeper. So, he's got something to prove. I think Swansea's got a good signing there.
Sigurdsson's
fantastic. And that's the other name, the other big name. They locked up Sigurdsson, and the other big piece I think here is that Monk. Monk is a Swansea legend. He got the contract. They don't have the poison chalice of Europa League to worry about. So you got a Swansea guy taking over Swansea City. They brought in some fresh guys, some fresh legs. Wilfred Bonny had a good season last year. I think he scored 14 or 15 goals, maybe 16.
Very strong. That's
pretty good considering that Swansea midway through the season kind of looked like they were lost. You add in Lord Voldemort and John Joe Shelby behind him. Shelby taketh and giveth away whenever he wants. I think Swansea's going to be... I think we're going to get back to...
Not a great goal scorer of great goals.
I agree.
Shelby.
I think Swansea did some good business. I think they got rid of the guys that were negative, that had a negative effect on the locker room, or would potentially have been... Maybe I think they foresaw that if these guys are already complaining, let's get rid of them. Let's move on.
They were a bit malignant.
They brought in a few names that I think would do well, and I think locking up a local guy, you win back your supporters. And I think that having the support in the stands makes a difference for the players. I think they had a good summer. I think we're gonna see them fighting for a Europa spot again.
I think you sold me.
I sold you?
Yep.
That was nice.
That was good. Not that we need to... I'll throw in another one. It goes without saying. I think City locking up their spine was a big thing to do. Part of their spine. Company and Silva. All they got to do is hire a baker year round just to make a cake every week for Toure. Lock him up for
They should give him a monthly cake. Just a monthly cake. On his birthday.
And if he gets a red card, he doesn't get it that month.
Yeah. I think locking up Silva, great piece of business. They've been very quiet up until, I think, just yesterday they signed
Mongol.
Another defender, right? I believe.
From Porto.
I don't like Company.
No?
I know that the statistics may tell me otherwise. I think people will tell me otherwise. In my heart of hearts, and I've told you, I have nothing against Manchester City. Of the big 4 rivals, they're the one that least bothers me.
There's no history for
it. There's like, it's okay, they're fine. The money doesn't bother. I'm over the money. I've gone past the whole buying championships. I'm over that because everyone's going to start doing it now.
Yeah.
So everyone's got money, or not everyone, but a lot of people have money. There's something about Company, the way he plays. I think he has been banking off of like 1.5 really good seasons. And ever since then, he's been coasting. Last season, he cost them that game again. I mean, they ended up still winning the league.
He was injured a lot though last
year. Yeah, but there was the one game where he cost them against Liverpool, the awful clearance, and that's the thing. Like, I know that center backs will make mistakes, but you just pray that they're never going to make the mistake against your bitter rival that's going to take take the top of the league. So he's got that in him.
Oh, well, everybody makes me look at Gerrard last year. He'll never live that down. That slip,
Yeah, but that's fine.
He's the captain.
But that's funny as hell.
It's very funny. But I think as far as business wise go, locking up your star center back, one of the rising center backs in the EPL and internationally, where it could be a risk moving forward. Like I said, it's the bittersweet part of having top notch internationals. But
if you trust in him, it's a good move. If you trust in him, it's a good move.
If you watch him play, he's very vocal. He tries it. He does what he can to keep it organized. He does go out of position a lot. He does move forward, but he's great in the air as well from set pieces. I don't know. As far as locking those two players up, plus they have a glut of strikers. Still,
Jovetic, Dzeko, Aguero,
Negredo.
Forgot about Negredo. Forgot about him for a second.
He didn't get a chance to play because there's so many. And then,
and he also got a little injured, and then other guys came back,
and then picked up Lampard, which isn't. I think it's more of a holdover until he goes over to.
It is a holdover, and he would have gone
like a coaching kind of thing.
Well, he would have gone to Melbourne, except that Australia has weird loan rules about parent clubs or something like that. Like essentially, there was some rule in the A-League that wouldn't allow him to go because David Villa's there already. The New York City FC.
It's ridiculous for their league, but okay, whatever they want to do.
I had read it somewhere, and I kind of just I'm like, this seems a little too complicated. I'll just take it for face value. Okay, but I love Arsene Wenger's little quip. He's like, there's a much easier way to get to Manchester from London.
I thought he was going to New York.
He's like, you flew to New York just to fly back to Manchester. He was just messing around. He's joking with the whole, the financial fair play. Wenger believes that City always wanted to sign Lampard and then loan him to City. His thinking, his mentality is, if I were to cheat the system, how would I do it? Oh, I'd have my sister company buy him and then loan me to me, so I don't break financial fair play rules. And if that was the intention, that's
great accounting.
If that was the intention, that
from one CPA to another.
I really don't think that was the I don't think that was the purpose, because what is Frank Lampard going to gain? What is he giving Manchester City? He's gaining by being there, by staying fit. I don't think City gains much by having Lampard, other than maybe
training sessions,
a voice, an experienced voice,
European experience, in the locker room.
But if you consider the fact that they, Chelsea should have been looking at City as a rival, some of these players may have some animosity towards that. I mean, I'm not saying that there is, but Chelsea, City are not really they share the same fans, so it's not. They can't really hate each other too much.
Their jerseys are right next to each other's in everybody's closet.
Yo, this is just week one. This is just week one. It's only going to get worse, folks.
Well, on the flip side of this conversation, who do you think had the worst summer?
I think across the board, I think it's almost unanimous from everyone I've ever talked to here. Southampton.
Oh, they were gutted.
And 100%, the board, controlled by Catherine Liebherr. Catherine Liebherr, I think her name is.
Yeah, something like. That's what it looks like. It is.
It's Liebherr. Catherine Liebherr. She inherited the team from her father, who was, I think, like Swiss German or Swiss Dutch or something. I don't know.
Industrial tycoon.
Some big shot dude. Port guy. I think shipping magnate. That Southampton it might be a port city, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She inherited the team. I think she cares, from what I've gathered, as a hunch from some of the reports I've read, that she gives fuck all, as they say, about football.
She cares more about the meat pies at halftime
Oh, that's a low blow, bro.
Sorry.
That's a low blow.
Sorry, that was too much.
That was too
I
much.
didn't mean it was.
We should not comment on her looks, only on her attitude, which is shitty.
I didn't mean her weight. I was just saying she's more interested in the quality of the meat pies.
Okay,
That's a big thing.
Yes, that's
Who has the best
okay.
meat pie?
Oh, you're thinking? I'm sorry.
It's a social thing.
I apologize. You went from the culinary angle.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. So, I think she saw that Southampton has had historically a good academy. They've produced a lot of talent. You know, everyone, Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Bale. Blah, 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 blah. There's more, even before that, before our time. Shearer, I think, was from out of that academy. Matt Letizia. I mean, I'm not sure if he went to the academy, though. But he's a Southampton player. Regardless.
Legard, not a saint.
Legard. So, they have been a club that has survived on selling some of their better talent to keep the doors open. Not necessarily to just keep the doors open, to advance.
They produce.
Right. Now, if they had sold Lallana, nobody would fault them. English international, the market value for him might be the highest it'll ever be, and Liverpool is clamoring over him. Let's ship him off. But Liverpool was like looking in the window, and they were like, give me all the L's. Lovren, Lambert, Lallana. Line them up. Throw them in the shopping cart. I'm out.
Liverpool lady. Alliteration? I was trying to keep going. Oh, sorry.
So, and I'm not and I don't blame the other clubs that are poaching. They want to sell. They want to. That's the
business.
That's unfortunately the business. Do I think it's completely awful for the supporters there that have produced all these guys? Now, can a team survive by losing? Can Southampton survive by losing Lallana, Lovren, Shaw, Lambert, Chambers, and what's his face? The other defensive midfielder, Schneiderlin. He wants to leave
because everything's been good.
Right. Well, the first sign was when Pochettino said, "You know what? This place sucks so bad. I'll go Spurs. See you later." He was probably told, "We're going to sell players, and no, you cannot reinvest every dollar." So he said, "That's not how a football club should be run." Yeah. See you later. So he bounced. That was the first bad sign. Then they started to sell off these guys. Now the other players, they're going to lose. They're losing confidence. And then you got poor Jay Rodriguez, who's injured, and he's like, "Nobody wants me.
I can't prove it." Yeah.
Nobody wants me. Lallana, come back. Lallana, come back. And they picked up this. They picked up this Serbian kid, poor Serbian kid. They paid good money for him. I forget his name. It's a Serbian name.
It ends with an itch.
Yes, exactly. And no pressure, buddy. No pressure. Only major signing that we have.
You know what? At this point in the season, I don't think there is any pressure on him because I think everybody in the stands is like,
I guess,
please don't go down.
Yeah,
just stay.
Just stay.
Just stay. Even if it's the last spot, they just want to stay.
You know, when you see this kind of thing, you almost go, please sell the team.
How do they let it happen? How does the league let that happen? I mean,
the league has no.
They own the.
This is not the NFL. This is not.
Yes.
There is no salary cap. There is no.
Weird how that is here.
This isn't Major League Soccer where the league actually owns every club. You know, this is.
It's bad for the image, though.
It's bad. It's bad for the Premier League.
It's a bad example.
It's bad for the Premier League in the sense that it's bad for the Premier League because there's going to be a club now in the top flight that their intention is not to win. Now, I understand that every club they set their own kind of goals because they have restrictions. They have financial restrictions, blah, 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 all sorts of things. Talent restrictions. They can't acquire people. They can't draw in managers. They don't have enough fans to bring them enough money. I understand that. But they all have a goal of, outside of the few that really are struggling, but they're financially struggling, where their goal is don't go down. Now you take a club like this that looked like they could be very successful, and now they went from a club that could have been like, let's try to get the next step. Let's get into Europa. To now they've downgraded on purpose to let's not get relegated. That's what sucks. You understand the business point. You understand that of these 5 guys, 2 of them probably would have gone no matter what because the time was right.
The market value was there.
I mean, Chambers, they got good money for Chambers from Arsenal. But, I've seen this kid play for Arsenal now. I saw him play for Southampton, but not on a week-in, week-out basis. I've seen him now the last 3-4 weeks in preseason. He's a stud. You know, like, he's a 19-year-old stud. He's going to be a center back for England, no doubt. You let him go. You could have held him a couple more years.
Could have held a lot of people for a couple
You
more
know?
years. They're all really young. That's I feel worse for the supporters out of anybody. Because you go in, you know, you work, you want to escape, and now what do you have to escape into? A giant black pit where people get emptied into. It's like in 300.
We need a Southampton supporter to come and give us their exact take. That's what I need. That's what I need. If you're a Southampton supporter out there and you're listening, send us an email, shoot us a tweet. I want to know. Like, are you completely gutted? Are you pissed at the club or at ownership? Are you okay? Have you accepted this? You know, are you kind of like, what stage of acceptance are you at?
And how are the meat pies, in all honesty?
The South
I'm
Shore.
interested.
Do you have somebody else that might have had a bad summer?
I'm going to go with Newcastle, just because they never, when they lost Cabaye, they never found a replacement. You could tell that their whole system couldn't get from the back to the front. The Ben Arfa...
Cabaye continued to prove that he's a great player.
And losing Debuchy as well, their main French right side, and Remy. No Remy anymore.
Well, Remy went back.
He had been gone for a while.
He's back at QPR.
Yeah, but I think he smelled the smoke. You know what I mean? Everything was starting to burn. Pardew, I'm shocked Pardew survived the whole season last year, especially after that scuffle.
I think if he touches one more person or object, if he kicks a water bottle, I think he's gone.
He's 250 to 1. They're actually taking bets on it.
To be sacked.
To physically assault.
Oh, physically assault. Oh, like the Suarez bite. Like the guy that made $1 gajillion because he bet that Suarez would bite somebody at the World Cup.
Exactly. They're taking odds on that. Pardew to make...
At this point, you know, sometimes life is stranger than fiction. At this point, you should place a bet on every ridiculous thing possible.
It's worth the 10.
It's worth the tenner. I think Newcastle suffered quite a bit last season with just inconsistent play. First half to second half would be in one game they would go night and day.
Yeah, you couldn't blame it on the wind all season last year.
No, right. Did they bring in much? I don't think they did either. Let's see here. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, no, I
Perez, De Jong, not the De Jong from Milan, the De Jong from Ajax.
CM De Jong, the striker.
Cabela from Montpellier. John Murat for Feyenoord. I don't know a lot. I don't know a couple. Unfortunately for me, I don't know a couple of. I don't know these names, mostly of them.
Cabaye or
De Jong.
No, the other Frenchman you just said.
Cabela.
Cabela is, I think, a Cabaye light. He's got the same sort of style to his play. From what I've watched, controls kind of dictates the midfield, but like I said, not as much vision going forward. CM De Jong, I really, really enjoyed watching in Champions League. He's got a certain wiriness to him, but I don't think it's enough for what they should expect at a club like Newcastle. But we'll see.
We'll see. Do you think? I guess we're gonna get there. I'll hear what you say. Not bad enough though. Not bad enough that we're gonna be talking about them come May about their time in the championship. Battle though, maybe a battle.
I think they're gonna be sweating. I think they'll be sweating.
Speaking of relegation and promotion,
yes,
nice segue there. 3 new clubs. I mean, not new clubs, but 3 promoted clubs to the Premier League. 3 fresh faces, one of which took a year off and came back. We'll start with them, I suppose. Queen's Park Rangers are back.
It was a London sabbatical.
They're back. You know what we get? We literally get the trifecta. We get the triumvirate of personalities. We get Tony Fernandez,
yes,
Are Repnap, and Joey Barton.
I can't wait.
All 3 are back in the Premier League. If you put those 3 men in a room, someone loses a finger.
I can't.
And it's not Joey Barton.
Is Joey Barton going to be zen like he was in France?
I think he's calmed down.
Yeah.
I think there's not going to be I don't think there's going to be many chokeouts.
Not a tough guy. As much.
No, I think he's a hard man, but I think it's just now on the field, like just
get it done.
Just keep it within the game. Keep it within the confines of the game. Although he's a loudmouth on Twitter still. He can't muzzle it.
Can't put it down.
Antonio Fernandez is an interesting owner. He's got grandiose visions for QPR.
His 2-year plan worked again. His new 2-year plan.
It
was a 4. Now it's.
What the good thing in QPR, the good thing in QPR's favor this time around is that Mark Hughes isn't in charge and hasn't spent $100 million on 37-year-old unibrowed defenders.
Yeah. That almost tanked them for financial fair play on top of it.
Yeah. They had wage bills bigger than some of the best teams in the world.
Incredible. And they added some experience, some Ferdinand, and a young Stephen Kaufner was pretty good for Cardiff last year.
Yes, I mean Ferdinand Kaufner combo. A lot of people were talking about the older guy giving the younger guy the showing him the ropes, showing him what to do. Redknapp is looking to build a British core in QPR. He wants to have experienced British guys playing for QPR. He thinks that's the way to go. The fan base is rabid, but not. Fernandez has been trying to make the club a more global brand, but it's a very localized club, very rabid fan base. They have never won the league. Closest they've come, 1976, second place to Liverpool. They, I believe, are also the only West London club to actually be in West London. Someone told me that once. So I think they're on Fulham Road. I could be wrong.
Loftus Road.
They're on Loftus Road. But that's the name. Is it on the Loftus Road?
Exactly.
Oh no, I think Chelsea's on Fulham Road. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't know. One day I'll find out. Do a tour.
I know a good friend of mine. Last year, he went to the final playoff game.
Oh, Bobby!
Flew in Friday night, went to the game Saturday morning, flew back Saturday night, and then went to see the England international warm-up down in Miami that next
So he saw the Zamora 89th minute?
Yeah, he was there for that. I'm very happy for him because he's been he lived a block away from Loftus Road growing up. He moved here a couple years ago, so it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. You don't get to see that kind of that magic when you don't expect much.
No, of course, yeah. That's
nothing I've ever.
And everyone, a lot of people had expected Derby to be able to pull it off because they were a better team, so to speak.
Yeah, they had that albino fella, Hughes.
Joining QPR in the Premier League. Lannister?
Mm-hmm.
Lannister City?
Leicester?
I think it's Leicester.
Leicester.
Whatever. This is the Americanism coming out right now.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about them next year.
No, I think
we're just gonna butcher them.
No, I think we need to worry about them. I think it's the other guys that we'll get to them. I think the other guys. Well, we can obviously this will be up for debate. They won the championship with 102 points last year. Just ransacked the league. Had 6 weeks to go, 6 rounds to go, and had already locked up first place, automatic berth to Premier League. They've never won the top flight. Closest they've come, second place in 1928-29 season.
They're overdue.
Well, they're not. They're overdue to win the league. Yes, let's just pencil that in. Okay, you're next. If only that works.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So they've got some cool names on the team. That's what I like. I know. I did my YouTube research.
Okay.
I looked them up. I mean, I'd watched a little bit of them last season. I can't say that I consumed the championship as thoroughly as maybe if I was. I wish I was doing this full time because then I'd spend my Mondays watching all the matches that I missed. But they've got this guy named Danny Drinkwater. What a dope name.
You better be hydrated.
Danny Drinkwater. Imagine what your parents are like yelling at you, Danny Drinkwater!
Sweat soccer!
But apparently from what I've seen, he ran that midfield and he ransacked other teams. Not like razzle dazzle passes, but just
smart,
good, smart passing, good, smart vision, playing players into space. Did very well for them. They got a strike team up front of these two guys, David Nugent and Jamie Vardy. They say Vardy is lightning fast. Interesting to see what he's going to be able, what that lightning is against, Premier League defenses. And then the other big point, the guy that some people say credited them to get to the 102-point mark because they probably should have lost a couple matches in there, is their goalkeeper, Danish Kasper Schmeichel.
Nobody sees him.
Because he's a ghost. And then he reappears right there. Boom.
I'm here.
Point blank goal. Boom. They have a billionaire Thai owner. Thai. Not Taiwanese. Thai. I can't even. His last name is like. Swear to God, I'm not even going to try to say it for real. It's like 24 letters long. I don't have it in front of me because I was like, I'm not even writing it down because it's just. It's like starts with a P and then it's got like 24 letters and then ends with a.
I don't want to generalize,
but
do you think he has a waistline higher than Vincent Tan?
I haven't seen him. I don't know. I cannot.
I'm just going to miss Vincent Tan.
You listen. You have to take the under. You have to take the under.
Go with the under. Any higher, and you have a moose knuckle.
Right. Any higher, the belt buckles at his bicuspids.
Excuse me. Do you have a titty belt?
So they got a lot of power. They got a lot of money behind them. So we'll see now that they get that little TV money. They have an owner that obviously does well with cash. Let's see how he manages the Premier League and that whole financial situation. The third club to join the Premier League, Burnley. I think Burnley's going down.
Any relation to Craig? Because if it is, they're definitely going down.
Craig Burnley. Isn't that Burley?
Yeah, no. It's an American thing. I butchered it.
Boom, boom, boom. Ba-dum, ba-dum. They've actually won the top flight twice. Very recently. 1920, 1921, and 1959-60. So they're due. They have they're a small club, very local following. They're going to probably have a tough time not filling the stands. They're going to fill the stands very easily. They're going to have a tough time generating revenue to keep up with some of these clubs.
And to keep the roster where it should stay in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They also have a strike force that did very well in the championship. Danny Ings and Sam Volks, they scored 41 out of 69 goals last season for them. Ings is the 22-year-old striker, won Championship Player of the Year. So keep your eyes open for him. He might make some waves in the Premier League. Volks, unfortunately, blew out his ACL at the very end of the season, I think against Leicester City.
In a playoff? No.
I think he blew his ACL out in the same game that Leicester locked up the league. I think if my memory serves correct. He won't be back until late 2014, early 2015. So that's unfortunate for them that their strike force is not going to be whole for at least half the season. And even when you come back from an ACL, who knows? A couple months before you get that
you have to test
back into rhythm
before you feel confident.
What I like is their supporters call their manager Sean. I think his name is Sean Dice, Dyche. How would you pronounce that?
Oh God, on a bad week.
But they call him. This is the best part. They call him the Ginger Mourinho.
I'd take that over the other one.
So why they love him is he's on a limited budget. He's faced with a whole lot of limits, and he's kind of like a no nonsense, no bullshit. I think I read a quote somewhere that said he was talking about he's like everyone's all full of themselves about football philosophy. It's called a game plan, and if you don't have one, no duh. Of course you need to have a game plan. If you're just going out there with no game plan, so he's very kind of like
guy.
He's like your meat and potatoes guy.
Yeah.
No nonsense. Let's be serious.
Like he could go walk into the stands and strike a conversation.
I think so. I mean, I think that's what I'm getting from this.
So he's not a douche. I'm just kidding.
And he also got Burnley to play. They seem to be the team that the sum of all the parts was greater. Excuse me. The whole was greater than the sum of all the parts. I got that backwards. Synergy. It's a business term. So he got that going with the Burnley. Now he's going to obviously need that again. He's going to need to continue that. He's going to need to be able to manage on an unlimited budget. He's going to need to be able to game plan specifically against teams. And we've seen it. There's teams that do it. Stoke and Sunderland have stayed in the top flight game planning against teams. Like it can be done. It has been done in the past. It will be done again. Can he do it? Will he do it? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm happy. I have a soft spot in my heart for QPR because I have a lot of family members and friends who have supported them their whole lives. So to be happy for them, I want them to be successful. Also, it's an awesome ground. When you watch it on TV, there's no other...
It's very quaint. You're right on top of the field.
Very unique. It's an odd camera angle. It's worse.
It's worse than White Hart Lane.
That's what I was about to say. Tottenham, there's like blind spots almost.
Well, it's like looking down onto the field. It's like the top-down view on the FIFA.
Which is the better view. But yeah, with the... I'm going to say, even though it didn't work with Tony Fernandez every time and Vincent Tan, what you said about Lannister, when you have an owner that comes in, invests a lot of money, I'm sure there's a game plan, and they're going to do whatever they can financially to stay up now that they're here. So I would pick them and QPR to stay, and I think two that are currently in are going down.
I concur. So let's do that then.
You want to say who's up and then down?
Let's go because we've already been talking about it.
Okay.
We're going to hit on it. Let's do drop first. Who are the three clubs that you believe right now, pre-season, 2.5 days before the Premier League starts, who do you have penciled in as adios come May?
In no particular order, Burnley, Palace, and West Brom.
Ooh, we got 2 out of 3.
Nice.
I agree, Burnley. I think they're probably not going to have enough to stay up, unfortunately for them. But I hope, because I think the teams like every season there's a small club that knocks a big top 4 team right in the nose, just once, and I hope it's them. I hope they're the one of them. They like punch somebody in the nose and have a great day, beating a team that quote unquote they don't deserve to beat, kind of thing.
Something for the fans to remember.
Exactly, but I think they're going to. Unfortunately, I think that they will be going down. I think Hull will be going down. They have Europa League this year. I think another case of the poison chalice. I do not think the team is deep enough to handle Thursday night in Kiev or wherever the hell they're going. Cyprus.
Even with Livermore, Snodgrass, and Neats coming in.
Yes,
right.
Even with. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's enough. I think Hull. I think Hull was a good team last season. They got to the FA Cup final. They were in a position to win it.
Europe's going to curse them though.
But I just think they have too much to focus on now. It's hard. It's hard. You've seen teams do it. Happened to Wigan. Wigan couldn't do it. Swansea was on the verge of doing that, and they had to fire their manager. I mean, it happens. You win a cup, you get put into Europe, and it's not so hot. Now, the other team that we agree on, West Brom. West Brom has been mismanaged for a few years now, pretty poorly. Ever since the sacking of Steve Clark, I think they've just... And that happened pretty recently, but even before that, I feel like they didn't really invest enough. They had opportunities to invest. They made bad choices. The mismanagement has just been snowballing. I think this is the year that we see them say, goodbye. No more baggies. No more baggies.
Fair enough. I have a wild card. My wild card to go out is a far-fetched one, but I think Newcastle might have a chance to be relegated. Depending on how far, what it looks like, depends on how it looks in January. But if they can't make it to January with progress,
you know what? I could see maybe an injury to Tim Krul, and now you're looking at maybe a pretty dire situation. Krul is a good enough keeper that he keeps them into some games that they shouldn't be in. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Okay, that's a dark horse pick. I could see that. It's possible. A couple of bad dominoes, right? A couple of dominoes fall that don't belong to fall, don't need to fall. Now, top 4. Now, top 4 it's usually always the same names, and I'm having a tough time really with 4, 5, 6, 7. And I know it's not top. I said top 4, but because that 4th spot is up for grab, I really feel that the competition, and even maybe let's say even third, because I feel usually in the Premier League the top two teams at a certain point they kind of
flip.
Well, the top two teams figure like within maybe the last month you kind of know the last two teams. I feel like they kind of the cream rises to the top towards the end there. But I'm this year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm like, God damn,
It's very top heavy.
God damn, this is good.
Oh,
This is good. But like, I'll give you my 1 and 2. I think Arsenal and Chelsea are going to fight to the tooth and nail to win this thing this year. I not that I think that City is not going to also be good. I think, and this happens to championship teams, if you don't keep that attitude, that fire in your belly, you get complacent, and maybe it's not a big deal. Especially if you win a couple of things. You know, I know that they're professionals, but you've seen this in professional sports so many times. Championship team, they've obtained that goal, that team goal. Now they start looking insular. They start looking at personal goals. All right, so what do I want to do now? I want to make that big paycheck.
I want 10 assists. I want 20 goals.
I want to buy a Ferrari. I want the hot wife. They start looking at personal goals because they've attained. Like I'm a champion. I've lifted the trophy already. So now what else do I want to do? So I think, City won 2 and 3 years. Okay, I know that they've already said that but now a lot of those guys have won 2 and 3 years. Is it going to be? Not every team is going to be the Liverpool of the 70s and 80s, or the Manchester Uniteds of the 90s and O's. Notes. They're not. Not everyone is going to be that. Those are rare. A lot of times teams can't stay consistent.
Yeah, not if you're flipping managers.
I mean, well, they've got the same one, but
when they won it with
Pellegrini.
Yeah, but then they win it.
Excuse me,
Mancini.
Right, but they still have Pellegrini. So let's see. Well, what I'm saying is, I just think that the fire in Arsenal's belly is nice right now. I think they're in a position. They have confidence.
They have everything to work for.
Confidence is very high. I think Chelsea also has a core of guys that have a lot of confidence and think that they should be up there winning. I think I have a lot of those guys that probably think we shot ourselves in the foot a few games last season that if we had just gotten the result or gotten the draw, hey, we would have maybe been up there. Now, City, United, Everton, Liverpool, Spurs. And that's the order I gave you that I've kind of determined. City, third, United, fourth. Then Everton, then Liverpool, then Spurs. But I say this, and it's not to put down Spurs or Liverpool or Everton or even United. That might even maybe to come in third. Maybe. They're so close. I can't. And it's not a knock on people. Oh, Dan, you're hating on Liverpool again. No, it's like, to me, it's so close.
No,
I don't know. And it could easily flip.
Out of all of those, I think United has the greatest advantage. And that's why they're going to stay in the top 4. Even though there's a lot of question marks going into the season. They're all, they got the new manager or whatever, making changes. But the fact that they're not playing in Europe and that they have the depth, like in certain spots, they have the time to prepare in this new system moving into the next week, as opposed to that midweek game that they have to fly into Europe, fly back, and they miss it. There's no hustle, bustle, shuffle. There's no chance of pushing that guy the next day and he blows a hamstring.
There's a chance, but it's a lower chance, yes.
Because you're going to be playing the Capital One Cup and in the FA Cup against, for the most part.
But even so, even when you have that, the league, your league game gets moved. You play on the weekend. It's not. You're not. It's a big advantage.
You're not immune from.
It's an advantage if they can bounce back. It becomes a disadvantage if they fall out of the top 4 again, because now it's 2 years without Champions League. Now you get the psychological effect, not necessarily on the players there, but on the outside. Like, do I really want to go to United?
The light gets hotter.
Right. Then the pressure starts to build a little bit more, and we all see what pressure can do to a team. Like, for example, Arsenal has succumbed to pressure years and years and years, year after year after year.
Knees.
It's because it's too much, especially, and you lose the confidence, and then it's like, oh, here we go again. That whole thing. So yeah, I agree. The key is, though, they have to capitalize on this year. I think they have to capitalize on this year. I think they can. I think they will make the top 4.
I had in no particular order United, Arsenal, City, and Chelsea, but I think the top 2 is going to be Chelsea, City, and 3 and 4 is either going to be United or Arsenal. Flip them. I can flip either one of those top 2 and the bottom 2 of those 4. But I think all of them will be playing in Champions League next year.
I feel that Liverpool, although they swooped in for a bunch of Southampton players, I think they're going to miss Suarez. I think it's going to take some time to adapt without Suarez.
It's going to take a bite out of their offense.
But I'm bummed.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. Well, they've already got some injury woes, too. They're starting off the season without Lallana and without, I think his name is Markovic, the new Croatian that they signed, who looks very good. But now you're already without him. You're integrating a bunch of new players into the team.
And they wanted, I heard
listen,
musings, they want to turn Sterling from more of a winger into a striker, center forward kind of.
Interesting. I think their attack is still going to be very good. I think there's still question marks about their defense.
Absolutely.
And we'll see. I think Everton edges them out on the Martinez factor because I think he's got a striker, although maybe they overpaid for him. Yeah. I think they may have overpaid for him. I'm not sure. His attitude seems a little
big,
a little funky. We'll see how he maybe he can manage that. Maybe.
I'm sure as long as he's scoring goals, he'll be happy.
Yeah, of course. But they've kept a lot of their core. I mean, the problem is that they lost, and I don't know. Some people argue that he was a factor, but not a huge factor in the loanee from Barcelona, De La Feo.
Yes,
he went back home. They never really they don't really have a replacement with him, but they kept Barkley. They secured Barry, who did a great job for them. I got to give it to him because I was never a huge Barry fan, but he came into that Everton team, and he was an anchor, nice anchor, held down that midfield, organized, concise, broke up. Was really good on breaking up.
It was like a Fletcher,
and essentially kind of like a Fletcher, yes. Yeah. So I just think that they have momentum in their favor, and they were pretty close. They were pretty close to knocking Arsenal out of the top four last season.
They made a good run.
I think they could do it again. I think Spurs just get the. I think unfortunately for them, I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're just going to pull the short straw. You know what I mean? The way that things fall, I think they're just going to pull the short straw. I think. They weren't very heavy in the transfer market this season, but they acquired 19 players last year. So I think finally they're going to settle in. Perhaps I think Eriksen is going to become a household name in Premier League households.
When he came to Red Bulls, that was fun to watch him.
I think Eriksen's going to do well, and I think Lamela is going to I think he might flourish under Pochettino. But there goes my top. That's my Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, I buy that. So, going in, a little bit of, we'll call it a redemption.
A little play on words.
Bold red.
If you have not picked up on it yet, we've touched on it. Dave is a Manchester United supporter, and I am an Arsenal supporter. Both our clubs wear red. Redemption.
The red thing.
So we want to do a little segment on two players, one from each club, that has been redeemed, have gotten a second life,
battled back.
If not necessarily a second life, but have battled back.
Proved all the naysayers wrong.
Yeah, and I think in your case, the vice captain this season, Darren Fletcher.
Yeah. In the beginning of his career, he had a lot of metatarsal issues, lost a lot of time, came back, made himself a major part in the midfield in the 08-09 run, then started picking up little injuries here and then. All of a sudden, he had that lower intestine issue. Most people thought that was it for him. Fought back, and all preseason long, he's been a monster for them. And kind of the linchpin for that, coming from back to front, adjusting perfectly fine, three at the back. From what I've seen, I mean it's been preseason, like I said, but he's getting into the system. But he learned, he knows knows how to put pressure on. He's not scared of anybody. He's very tenacious in his defense, and he's a good leader. And I'm glad he didn't get the axe.
Let me ask you: would you classify him as what is the word I'm looking for? The predecessor? Not predecessor. Maybe that's the right word. I don't know. My brain just shut down for a second. Is he going to be Carrick's eventual replacement? Is he Carrick-like? Or is he? They seem to me to be very similar players. And if you were if you were to erase out the body and just had the jerseys running around, I would think I would be like, I think that's Carrick.
It's a similar skill set.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They're
how old is Fletcher?
Got to be in the early 30s, probably.
Okay, so he's not really a replacement. He's similar.
31.
They're synonymous. Perhaps.
They're pretty much the same, and they have the same injury history too. Carrick's been neck and neck in all of his career, but they always come back and they give it their all every game.
I think it's a huge sign that a new manager comes in, and maybe this is Giggs' influence on him though. Maybe this is Giggs' influence on Van Gaal saying, "No, you get to pick the captain, but I think you really need to consider Fletcher for the vice." I don't know. Obviously you wish you could be a fly on that wall. But it is impressive that Fletcher did, regardless, and even knowing all that information, that he is the vice captain. That means he's made an impression enough, because we all know that Van Gaal is notoriously stubborn. So maybe Giggs did get in his ear and he said, "Go back to Wales. I don't care what you think." I think that's a good sign for United supporters that Fletcher is. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be making an impact.
And that's he learned early on when Keane was still there in training sessions, and he taught him,
What did he learn? How to take a cleat in the face?
Put pressure on. Don't be scared of anyone. Nut them. Do you know what I mean? If you have to.
Yeah. You guys make dummies of Patrick Vieira to kick in the face whenever you get a chance.
But like I said, it's a great story. I'm very happy for him. I don't think there's anybody, even if you're if you say something horrible about a story like that. Same thing with Aaron Ramsey, which, sorry to steal your...
You stole my thunder.
I'm sorry. Goddamn.
Now, I think in Arsenal's case, Aaron Ramsey, although he did have an injury issue last season, probably from being overplayed, I think without that injury, I think we would be, if he had been rotated out a little bit, he probably would have been arguably in contention for Player of the Year. He was phenomenal. Took over that engine room, got involved in attack, sending the ball into space. Just a phenomenal player.
He started on fire.
Phenomenal player, and considering where he was the season before, where he was, and supporters have a bad knack of pinpointing all the problems on a player, and the season before there was a lot of hatred towards Ramsey from within the camp, from within the Arsenal supporter camp, and I think part of it was a frustration from the supporters out of looking for a solution. And Ramsey was being played out of position, and there was the jeers and the boos. And as soon as we got healthy enough in the midfield where he could move centrally, the light just goes on. And Wenger has talked at length about, I always trusted him, I always believed him. He listened to everything I told him to do. He played that season. Left back, right back, defensive midfielder, central midfield, right wing, left wing. I mean, wherever Wenger said you got to play, he went, and he did a job. There were some days where he was maybe, I wouldn't say out of his depth, but not his preferred position, not the best overall performances, but doing good work. Take it a year back before that. His first year back, everyone kind of gave him license because he came back from a double leg break, and if you look that up on YouTube. The double leg break from Shawcross, Stoke Orc. It is gruesome. And some players may never come back from that. I mean, gruesome. The guy never... I mean, it's impressive. It's just impressive. Came back from that. Had a year growing, strengthening up, trying to work his way back into the team. Earned his job back on the squad. supporters bashed him because it wasn't what they wanted, or looking for an escape or a scapegoat, to people saying he should be the captain this year, which I do not want him to be the captain. There's too much pressure. I want him to continue to do what he does. You watch him play, and when he's on the field, he's adding a confidence, a heart, a dedication that the best teams in the world have players like that. I mean, it's incredible. It's awesome to watch him. I just sitting here swooning over Aaron Ramsey. Swoon, swing.
You're like a whale of emotion.
Yes. Oh,
because he's from Wales.
You got that? No, I think we got that. So that's my redemption story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, redemption songs. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I keep saying it. We said it at the beginning of the episode. Very, very, very excited. Too many times I said very there, but one time is too many, actually.
Is this still count as alliteration if you use the same word over and over again?
It's just annoying.
Okay. All right, folks. On that note, on being annoying, for all things Soccer Yanks, please visit socceryanks.com. You can email us at socceryanks@gmail.com. We are on Twitter. I am at SoccerYankDan.
And I'm at SoccerYankDave.
And we love to hear from you. Please check out our website. We have great content. We don't only talk about Premier League, although we like to talk about the Premier League. We have another podcast called Homegrown, where we talk specifically U.S. domestic soccer. Homegrown is our home for domestic soccer. That's
the Yank part.
The Yank part, yes. The soccer part too. That's executive produced by one of our great contributors, Rescinded Red. He also writes for us. We got great writers. I'm an Arsenal supporter. Dave's a Manchester United supporter. We also host one of our other writers, a Chelsea supporter. I know, but he's got his own column. So you could, if you're a Chelsea fan, there is Chelsea content on there for you. There is MLS stuff.
Don't judge him. He's still a Chelsea fan.
Sorry, Kyle. So there's something in there for everything. Fantasy Premier League, if you're interested, there's a link on socceryanks.com. I don't. Most of the time, I sign up, and 3 months later, I'm like, oh crap,
there is.
So that's it. Oh, that's
the first one.
That's it. It's in the bag. We'll be back next week, hopefully, and we'll have action to talk about. Action.
Enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a fun one. Have a good one, folks.
Gracias.